Monday Night Football broadcast for the Patriots-Ravens game, John Gruden and Sean McDonough discussed the possibility of Tom Brady playing until he was 45 years old. Brady, who's currently 39, discussed his potential to play to that age on WEEI yesterday.
Look, I love playing. I'd love to play this game for as long as I can. There's a lot of things that aren't up to me, but I'm going to do everything I can to keep playing at this level, for as long as I can. And I think I could do it. I think as the years have gone on, my process has actually just gotten easier. I got years and years of logs of plays and techniques, and and then you couple that feeling, as well as I ever have physically, and I think that's a real positive for an athlete. I worked to get to this point, and this is, I think, when I can really capitalize.
So Brady thinks he can play 5 or 6 years. We know Max thinks he's going to fall off that cliff in 14 months. Will Kane in the house. I have company. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you. Glad to be here with you. Somebody,
yes,
this is just flat rude.
Right? Hey, it is. They are rude, huh?
Speaking of rude,
thank you.
Listen, I want to get to this Brady topic, and I've got an entire argument laid out
I
here.
love it.
I promise
I can't wait.
It's going to destroy Max at the very least, but the best way to win an argument is to throw somebody off their game, to get them emotional, and my goodness, these two have done a good job of that at the start of this show. Stephen A. saying that Jerry Jones is trying to sabotage Dak Prescott. Max saying that Jerry Jones has called Dak Prescott a bus driver. Yeah, you got me emotional, so don't worry. I'm going to try to focus on Brady, but from what I understand, I'm going to get a little shot later in the show to come back to you on these absurdities.
Jerry Jones, take it up with Jerry Jones. He's the guy who said it.
I'm going to be taking it up with you in just a little bit.
Yeah, they went sabotage. They went bus driver. They did. Max, I want to start with you.
You know what I love, Molly? I love how Will works hard to try and come across as intimidating. It's hilarious to me. It's really funny. He actually tries to be intimidating, and he really thinks it works.
No, he's not. Was that? Will, were you trying to be intimidating?
I'm sorry.
Just then?
I'm sorry.
I thought you were trying to be funny.
Will says something like, "Oh my goodness," we're supposed to be. "Oh my Lord, Will's coming for us." Really?
While we're being each other's therapists, let me offer you this, Stephen A. What I find fairly amusing is your total lack of self-awareness. You'll walk into a buzzsaw with the confidence of someone who didn't see it there. That's what happens with me every time. You're not intimidated, but you should be.
Listen, Stephen, I think you're missing Will's point.
I've never been touched by a buzzsaw.
He's intimidating like Will Ferrell is intimidating. He's doing it for comic effect, obviously, right? Will, tell him.
I'm just glad the topic bars are gone so we can check out your outfits as requested. So, Max, I want to start with you here. In 2 years, where will Brady rank amongst NFL quarterbacks?
Middle of the pack at best. Look, when I said bum, I'm comparing him to the standard now. Tom Brady, on guile and experience alone, will likely never be the worst quarterback in football, and he's even said he wants to play at this level, and he will be unable to do it. Like Willie Mays at the end, when people made fun of him, maybe the greatest center fielder ever, for falling down trying to catch fly balls and stuff. If you look at his numbers at the end, he was still pretty good. He was still a major league player, but it just wasn't Willie Mays anymore. It was, he had fallen off the cliff, or at least had steadily declined, which tends to happen in baseball more than with quarterbacks in football, who, if they play a long time, they cruise at a high altitude and then right off the cliff. It's happened to everyone, Peyton Manning, everyone. Well, Peyton Manning got hurt, yes, and that's what happens if you continue to play. You're likely to get hurt. Tom Brady, before the end of next season, which I've said all along, I said 18 months to begin with, because that'll make, age 41, will not be the same. Brett Favre was cruising along at a very high altitude. Oh, my God, he can go on forever. He can play till he's 45. It just doesn't happen. Now, partly that's because when Brian Burke did this study that I pointed out, months and months ago, he did a study a year or two ago, partly that's because when there is natural variation in performance, variance in performance, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. When it goes down and you're 41 years old or 40 years old, the assumption is by everyone, including the player, I guess I've had it, and they retire. If Brady goes through that and remains uninjured and is in a Belichick system, is it possible he can still play at a high level? That's still unlikely. But there's a first time for anything. But for those who are assuming that will happen, you are not really giving him credit if it does happen. You're saying it's no big deal. He was going to do it anyway. No, that would be defying long odds. How long? It would be 1 over the history of humanity, because it's never happened before. Tom Brady will fall off the cliff before the end of next season.
Well, I pay decent attention to the show. Stephen A. always likes to question exactly how often I'm tuned in, but I don't think, Max, you always said it was going to happen in 18 months. I think this was a sort of open-ended prediction you had that he's eventually going to fall off the cliff like all human beings do.
By the way, that's factually incorrect, Will. That's not
Did
factually
that not
correct.
happen when Stephen A. put you on record? Didn't Stephen A. not say when exactly is this cliff you're discussing?
I said before age 41, and then I said 18 months because if you did the math, that would put him at the end of the age 40 season. The entire time I say the same thing. I know there are those who said, I guess on my Twitter timeline, oh, you're leaving it open end. No, I've identified the date, which is not that hard if you look at these things.
Hold on, Max. Will?
Yes?
Max is absolutely correct. He made the statement from day one, and he has been consistent with it. Once again, you proved that you were lost somewhere and you weren't listening. Max is telling the truth.
Thank you, Stephen A. See, he's doing it for comic effect. I told you, he's not trying to intimidate anybody. Tell him, Will.
I don't lose for comic effect, Max, and I will concede the point. If it's 2 versus 1 and I paid not enough attention to the exact specifics of your prediction, you have my apologies, Max.
Oh, well, I accept them. Go ahead, Will. It's fine.
It makes no effect on the quality of your argument, however.
Right.
This idea, first of all, Tom Brady in 2 years' time will be a top 10 quarterback. He'll be pushing closer to top 5 than top 10. The problem with your argument is this, Max. We're already beyond the statistical bounds. He's already exceeding any accomplishments of quarterbacks this age, excepting a few, like Brett Favre at the age of 41 taking his team to the NFC Championship game. As far as a holistic, abstract, statistical perspective, Max, you're beyond it. He's already defeating your prediction. He's already gone over the cliff, and he is flying, my friends. He's beaten your odds, and because of that, you can't see the trees for the forest. The trees are this. Tom Brady is the exception to your statistical analysis. There are other exceptions, as I pointed out, like Brett Favre. B, Tom Brady already is. And everything he's done in his career to this point suggests to you that your wide open statistical prediction should be done with very, very much trepidation. He does everything to make this last longer. And you know what? We laugh. We can dismiss this stuff. But his diet is actually a huge part of that. The way people eat is directly not just correlated, but cause and effect related to their longevity. The man eats 80% vegetables. His vegetable intake is higher than every quarterback's completion percentage. I have every confidence in 2 years' time. I'm not saying he'll be the best. That's what he is now, by the way. #1 QBR, #1 passer rating. So that's what he's coming down from. 2 years, still top 10, maybe top 5.
You know what? I didn't consider the vegetables. That's true. Go ahead, Stephen.
Actually, to add to that, he doesn't eat shade vegetables because they cause inflammation in the body.
Djokovic says it's what made him one of the top players, changing his diet.
Hold on, Molly. What was that last point? He doesn't eat what vegetables?
Eat shade. I actually have his cookbook, if you want to be honest. He doesn't eat shade vegetables. I like to cook because they create inflammation. Foods like tomatoes, eggplants.
Molly, did you say you like to cook, Molly?
I do.
That's special. That's special. Let me move on. Here's the deal. Here's the part that y'all are missing. And Will, I tend to agree with you and side with you on this because I think Tom Brady is special. This dude is elite on another level. I think that when Max talks about him falling off the cliff, there's something wrong with Max. Something's very, very wrong with Max. He needs to be tested. But here's the deal. When I think about Tom Brady, the one thing that I don't believe I've heard y'all mention is to say he's going to fall off a cliff. Are you talking about just his level of production or as it pertains to comparing him to other quarterbacks in the league? Because when I look at the guys in the league right now comparable to him, I look at an Aaron Rodgers, I look at a Drew Brees, to a lesser degree a Big Ben Roethlisberger. On the come up, we're looking at a Derek Carr, an MVP candidate. We're looking at a Matt Ryan. We're obviously looking at an Andrew Luck. So what I'm saying is that what's going to happen to those dudes? Because where's Drew Brees going to be? Where's Big Ben Roethlisberger going to be? Because even though he's younger, he's been beat up physically. We have to take those things into consideration. And to me, when I think about Tom Brady, cerebrally speaking, his intellect, what he brings to the table, his familiarity with the system, him being protected by a great, great coach, arguably the greatest of the modern day generation. Probably not arguably. So when you look at it from that perspective, I'm saying fall off of what cliff? 32 teams in the NFL.
Let me define it a little bit more.
Where are you telling me that this falling off a cliff is going to come from? Because what the hell is going to happen to the other dudes in the league he's still playing better than, which is going to be at least 27 other quarterbacks.
No,
at least.
But in the next 18 months, he will be at best middle of the pack. That out of 32 teams, anywhere between 12 to 18 would be middle of the pack, and I would tend to take the lower estimate, like 15 to 18, something like that. He'll be average at best compared by NFL standards, which are very high. Look, when you talk about the history of the league, you bring up Peyton Manning. 55 touchdowns in one season. Well, because he had the injuries. Yeah, but you're going to use the injuries, but after the injury, 55 touchdowns. The following year, he was even better until he got hurt and wound up with 39 touchdowns. And then he was terrible. I mean, he had enough guile to win a Super Bowl with a great defense, but none of us think he was even an average NFL quarterback that year. Well, that's Peyton. That's different. He never had a huge arm anyway, etc. Brett Favre wasn't making certain throws by the age of 37 or 36, something like that.
Max, why don't you man up and admit what you're trying to say? Why don't you man up and admit what you really trying to say? All you're depending on is for Tom Brady to get hurt. You have no other evidence history and him getting hurt. That's
but Brett Favre, the reason I bring up Brett Favre is he was making all the throws again.
We'll deal with him. Deal with him,
and
Will.
within a year, it was gone.
I think you're pushing on the wrong.
Moon is the best argument for statistical excellence late in his career as a system quarterback, and that lasted 1 year, age 40, 41, and that was it. No one goes past 41
but
at
the
an
problem
elite
is,
level.
Stephen A., I think you're pushing on the wrong soft spot here. Max, if he can be in a position where he's only arguing for the existence of a cliff, he'll win. Yes, of course there's a cliff. Of course things go downhill quickly. Life goes downhill quickly. People die quickly. It's rarely drawn out, except for the advent of modern medicine that can drag it out. But most professional careers end very quickly. Max, you'll win that debate, so you're not pulling me onto that ground. It's the win that's the weakness of your prediction.
Sure.
It's the win.
Strength.
And the win, you are using a broad statistical analysis by a guy I've never heard of. I'm sure that's part of my ignorance, of which I've displayed in the segment more than once.
I haven't heard of him either, Will.
Brian
works
for analytics department now at ESPN.
Okay, I'm sure he's wonderful.
Had breakfast with him the other morning.
Max, he's great.
That's your problem. That's your problem right there.
Max,
Go
your
ahead.
argument, here's the weakness of your argument. It's this. It's boiled down very simply. Tom Brady is like everyone else. And Stephen A. and I are arguing, no, he's not. And I think we have more evidence than you do that he defies the exception. If you pull
Was
us
Brett
back
Favre
onto the
like
cliff,
everyone else? Because I was told he wasn't. I was told Peyton Manning wasn't like everyone else. Brett Favre wasn't like everyone else.
He had four back surgeries for crying out. He had
John
back
Elway,
surgeries.
Johnny Unitas, Terry
surgery.
Bradshaw. Just name a quarterback. They weren't like everyone else except before 41.
Stop it.
We got
As
more.
an elite quarterback.
We got more debates we need to get into. Will, I just want you to know, always fun having you on the show, poking these two bears right here. You'll be back with us a little bit later.
You bet I will. I'm going to be intimidating people.
Yeah. Coming up, Anthony.
So funny.
He just wants to stay mellow. The Knicks are playing well, but Carmelo Anthony says he could use a little rest. Is it time for Phil Jackson to move on from Melo? Don't miss that discussion next. Plus, the Seahawks looking to get back on track against the struggling Rams tonight. Will the tight turnaround hurt Seattle? Cue Richard Sherman.
Poop fest. It's terrible. This is we played, we got home like 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that on Monday, and then you got to play again. I mean, congratulations, NFL. You did it again.